Hey Elliot, Mr. Wilson here. Just thought I'd do a quick video so it might get you through a bit faster, but we can have a chat about this later. Firstly, questions you had, thanks for those. The first section will go up to the SWOT analysis, and we'll do that in one study class, and the second section from SWOT onwards. So let's have a look at your question. First one is love marks. So love marks is really something that was invented by a guy called Kevin Roberts, who was the CEO of Saatchi & Saatchi, and he talked about having an unreasonable love for a product. And so that's this part here, the love mark. And so we've got high love, high respect. Some good examples of those are, I don't know, well, let's go back to perhaps brands. Brands are something where you've got a high respect but low love. That might be something like Weet-Bix. So every day you have Weet-Bix in the morning. But when Weet-Bix decide to add their trading cards with the All Blacks, suddenly it goes from a brand to a love mark. We really need to have that. We need to get the new cards. So high love, high respect. So that's the goal, is to try and get it in here. It helps keep the price high and gives you converts, really people who go out and sell your product for you, word of mouth type advertising, as opposed to Pam's toilet paper perhaps. So for your product, do you have it in a love mark space where people are out there selling your product for you, where you don't have to do much of that yourself? And why is that? It links to a unique selling proposition. How is it different than your competitors as well? Second question you asked was about the difference between product variation and differentiation. Click on the PowerPoint, the friendly twist. There's a good little video there about how Coca-Cola have done it. Coca are really good at this because when we have a look at the next slide, you'll see product life cycle, and you'll see that products die after a while, so they have to reinvent themselves. So a variation is where you're actually changing the product. For Coca-Cola, it's changing it from the original Coke to Zero Coke, Vanilla Coke, Raspberry Coke, actually changing what's in there. Whereas differentiation is the same product, maybe packaged in the same way or promoted in a different way. So it might be glass bottle, 2 litre bottle, cans. It might be a competition. So differentiation, same product, but just promoted in a different way. The other thing that I've got down here is kaitiakitanga. That's a term that means intergenerational sustainability. How do you make sure that your product lasts not only now, but into the future, 30, 40 years in the future? So how do you create that? And that's not just about the product itself, but that's around the resources that you're using to make sure that they last a long time as well. So we're not damaging the environment. This next slide is around the Boston Matrix, which you asked about, but I thought I'd go through the product life cycle first. The product life cycle, when like you're starting your product, you started your video, haven't got it launched. There's a loss happening because you're spending a lot of money, but no one knows about it. Introduction phase is when you first take it to market and test. And there's this big part here. This is really important to try and get over this leap. And that's getting it into the market. You did a really good job in that when you did your product launch and then took it into this maturity where you're making supposedly lots of money. It's out in the market. People know about it. You don't have to do too much work on it. And then products naturally fall off and die a death unless you do that product variation or differentiation. Keep it going. In terms of the Boston Matrix, you've got to start off with a question mark. You've got a product and you're looking at, you're not quite sure how it'll go. It's got pretty high market share because you're starting off on zero, market growth, but low market share. What you want to do then is push it into the star, and you did a great job of that with your product launch. So that's high market share and high growth. And that point there, there's a lot of effort out into promoting, and you certainly did a lot of that. And the goal really is to get it into this cash cow, which is sort of this part here in the maturity. Actually not having to do too much work, but it's out there selling and doing a good job anyway. And then when it comes into decline, you've got low growth or declining growth and low market share. So these ones we normally try to sell off or have a cheaper price. Then your next question was around price sensitivity. I thought because you're an economics whiz, you might like a couple of demand curves here. So price sensitivity is a change in price. Does that impact the demand for your product? So if it's an elastic demand, perhaps something that everybody needs with low competition, a change in price is a really small change in quantity demanded. Whereas if it's something that's highly competitive, if you might see something like petrol, for example, at one pump, a small change in price will have a massive change in the demand, simply because I can go to another petrol station that is a lower price. So that's price sensitivity. Next slide you came up with, question you had was, right, your type of advertising. Nice and easy. So you've got above the line and below the line advertising. Above the line is basically broadcasting to mass media. You don't get any feedback from that. So that might be billboard, TV stuff like the project, for example. There's no feedback from your customers. So it's not a personal approach. Whereas below the line is where you actually have an opportunity to talk to customers, promote it, and get them to become long-term customers. So what have we got? Trade marketing, sampling. That might be putting it on a blog and inviting people to have a discussion. It might be taking it to schools and having that discussion with that panel afterwards. So below the line, much more interactive. You often get customers that are more loyal, where above the line is just broadcasting. Here it is, I want you to have a look at it. Focus group. Again, I think there's a link in there, so you can click on that. Around Eco Warriors, they did this a little while ago, around finding out whether people wanted their product or not. So it's basically getting a few people and asking them these questions. There's also two other links, Backmates there and Low Voltage Learning. The idea is, in the assessment, we just got every student to ask 3 people these questions. What do you love about the product? What would you change and how would you use it? And what would influence them to use it over competitors' products? So you've got a lot of that feedback already. So you're just going to talk about that focus group. Who did you talk to about it before you launched? And last thing that you wanted to know was the SWOT analysis. So this is from the PowerPoint slide. I'll send that through to you as well. And the idea of SWOT analysis is you're not allowed to bring anything in here that you haven't included beforehand. So if you're going through this and you go something like, or maybe under the weaknesses, what disadvantages do our products have compared with our competitors? If that's not done previous in your explanations, you're not actually allowed to bring it into your SWOT. So that's part of the whole assessment. So basically you go answer these questions, and if you're missing something, you go back, fill it in the previous sections. So that's the end of the first section. Good luck with that. I'll send you the PowerPoint. Have a look at those links, particularly the Coke one's quite fun, and the focus group. If there are any other questions, just let me know. All right, ka kite.